Hi, we are back with our most beloved monthly spending overview video. In this video, I break down what we spent the month before and how we're thinking about the month ahead. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Danielle. I make videos on my first-gen experience, and right now that looks like navigating unemployment, but also, I talk about what it's like to work in tech as a Latina and just how to improve our finances. I'm not perfect by any means, so if you like a real and honest view on somebody trying to do good with their money, then hit that subscribe button, and I hope that you follow for more videos like this, like the ones that I've put out in the past. Okay, so let's get into it. A few pointers before we get into the specific numbers of May overview. I do want to share that one, I'm married, and so my husband and I have combined finances. Two, we are both unemployed and looking for full-time work, so we currently have no income. And three, we are 100% pulling from our savings to just be able to navigate last month and this coming month. So those are a few things to keep in mind. And if you are kind of wondering okay, so how exactly are you able to spend while you're unemployed? I made a whole video about that, so I'm going to link that up here so that you could check it out and get some context behind this. Let's get into it. Tools we use to manage our money. Very important thing just to touch on, very quick. Google Calendar to keep track of what events we have coming up, birthdays, holidays, things that, might mean we have to spend money during those days. Monarch Money, we used to do Copilot, but we found that Monarch Money was actually better for couples so that, we had our separate logins and we could each look at the accounts, whereas Copilot, wasn't really good for us as a couple. And number three is my own spending tracker, which I created, and I will put a screenshot of it here. And this one is just one that you will hear later on. I'm probably going to revisit how it looks and how we use it because we're no longer, as a couple, manually tracking our expenses. Now we're using Monarch Money alongside our spending tracker. So I do have to adjust it so that I don't have to do a lot of manual work at the end of the month to make it make sense on both tools. So those are the three things that we use. And as a couple, every beginning of the month, we have a money date. An hour, sometimes more, sometimes an hour and a half, where we just sit down and look at our expenses and talk about them. So that's kind of what happens before I sit here and share it with you. Let's talk high level of what happened in May. Breaking it down by category. So if we're thinking about travel, I had an unexpected last minute trip to Denver the first weekend of May. So you'll see that come up in travel. And then the other trip that we took was the last of our pre-planned trips, which was Aruba with Ari's family for a week. So those are the two trips that we took in May. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to taking a break from travel. I think, we've been doing a lot of that, a lot of pre-planned trips that we were scheduled to take, but I'm kind of excited for the summer to be able to enjoy our area, right? New York City, Jersey beaches in the summer. I think I'm looking forward to that. So we did do our last traveling in May. Another thing that you'll see in May was maybe spending on gifts, and that's mainly because of Mother's Day. And that's always a holiday that we kind of want to be able to get people flowers or, I cooked my mom breakfast for. So that's something that happened in May. And now looking ahead to June, we also have to consider Father's Day. Those are just a couple of things that I can think about that were big money highlights in the month of May. We are now on Monarch Money, which is where we've kind of transferred our spending tracker, all of that to, alongside the money tracker that I created, which has our spending plan and has our monthly kind of overview. And so let's just kind of look through Monarch Money just to give you a sense of what this looks like, because I have been enjoying personalizing it and making it really unique to the spending that we do. And I hope to kind of transfer this over to my spreadsheet just so that I could look at it in a more granular level. Okay, so income, we had obviously no paycheck. We actually haven't been tracking this ourselves, but with Monarch Money, it picks up all of the interest we're paid based on all the accounts that we've linked. And so it looks like $142 went into our accounts from just having high yield savings accounts. So that's pretty awesome. I made $11 from First Gen Money because of the spending tracker. A couple of you purchased it in May, or I think just one person purchased it in May. And so that's the $11 there. And that came to a total of $153 in income. Again, we are now very much using our savings to be able to live our life, especially in May, now that we no longer have unemployment coming in, the part-time job has ended. So mainly taking out of our savings. So if we look at gifts and donations, and these budgeted amounts are actually not something that we talked about. I just put numbers in there to see how this would look. So I'll transfer over to our money tracker when we get into it. But I do like how they break it down. Like you can see every category and it separates the gifts versus the donations. And so, we went over with the gifts. We have their auto and transport includes anything transportation related. So on gas, $184. That's probably because we were away for a week in May. But we have $125 in tolls and parking. And taxi and ride shares, that is mainly from my Denver trip. So I can open that up and see specifically where that was. So these were all our rides, or all of my rides when I was in Denver. So that came to $513. Oh my goodness. Housing is not showing up here, but yes, we do pay for rent, and that's $300. So there's some work we still have to do on our Monarch to make it like reflect what really we spend money on. Bills and utilities, and the actual was $1,000, and that is because of our insurance, right? Health and dental, $869. Food and dining, I think this is the big win in this category because we came in lower than I guess we had anticipated. And if I look at what we had anticipated in our spending tracker, we wanted to, for groceries, do $400, and we actually spent $411, which is just a little more than that $400 that we had planned. And for eating out, we wanted to spend $100, and really we spent $196. But if you look at that compared to, our eating out in April, definitely much lower. Our groceries in April was lower, but that was mainly because we were gone for 2 weeks and we were eating out while we were on our honeymoon. And lifestyle and travel. So I did mention how we took 2 trips, or I took 1 trip and then we took a trip together. And so we actually came under, I guess, what we had anticipated, which was the $1,280, and spent $515 with our Aruba trip and the last minute Denver trip. And I think something to point out here is in Aruba, we decided that we were going to go grocery shopping. We were going to go grocery shopping and make our lunches and a dinner while we were there. And we also did this thing in Aruba where, how you can like go and sit through a timeshare conversation with a sales associate. And so we did that and we got $200 in a voucher. So we were actually able to use that towards one of our meals. So that was pretty good. We did not sign up for the timeshare, so no worries there. But we did get the $200, and it was like a nice conversation. I feel like I got to get like 2 French vanillas out of it. We had a great time chatting with our sales associate, but we just aren't going to sign up for a timeshare. Okay, so that was travel, or trips and vacation. Lifestyle, pets. I didn't expect to spend $119 on food this month, but it was a Chewy subscription that my dog has. And so that was like automatic, and she needed more dry food. And then we've started to implement some wet food that we add to her dry food. And so that was also for a full month of food. Shopping. I did buy clothes, but I had a gift card. So all I had to pay was $8 towards like the Lululemon like running outfit that I got. So that was awesome. I'm really happy and grateful that I had a gift card, because I normally would not be buying Lululemon, new Lululemon. And so thank you to my mother-in-law for not wanting her gift card and giving it to me. Miscellaneous shopping. So that is $99. Let's see what that accounts for. And so if you click on it, you're actually able to go deep into it. So I bought some teacher cards for my sister, and she Venmoed me for that, but in June. So that's why it's not showing up here. And then Amazon, I bought a couple of items for kombucha making, and so that was $54.53. And then I also decided I wanted to buy a picture of myself in finishing my half marathon. So that is the marathon photo that you see there. So that was $99, nothing in electronics. Let's see, we didn't budget for 2 items. Okay, household items, $75. That's usually like soap, shampoo. That's kind of what we label as household items. And then this is a new category that I haven't been sharing on here. I haven't been tracking in our combined things, but I do think starting in May, moving forward, I do want to keep track of the family stuff. I have bills, medical, loans, and miscellaneous. The bill here really is their internet bill, which is reflected in my bills and utilities, is internet under internet and cable, and in subscriptions. I pay for my parents' internet and their Netflix. It's something that I started to pay for when I was living at my parents' house to help them with the bills, and because I was using Netflix at the time, and I haven't stopped because I don't feel like it makes much of a dent in my budget to pay for those items. Yeah, I was like, it's a lighter bill for me to take over, and although I don't live there anymore, it's still just easy for me to take that off of their chest, to have to think about that. But now that one of my younger sisters graduated college and is looking for a full-time job and living at my parents', maybe it's something I'll transfer over to her. But I'm also okay helping out with something small like that. But there are times with, my sisters who are underage where I have to take them to the doctor, and there are copays, and that's something that I have to cover because I'm taking them, and then it feels kind of weird to ask my parents to reimburse me for that copay. And so I cover certain costs that come up there. And I decided, you know what, let's give my family its own little category. Health and wellness. So as you'll see in our tracker, flipping back and forth, but as you'll see in our tracker, we actually went over by a lot for this category. And this does not include health insurance. This includes just the copays and doctor's visits. And Ari had a really bad pain in his back, neck, and just wasn't doing very good with all that pain. And so he started going to PT, and that was surprisingly expensive. We have a high deductible plan, and so our copays and what we have to spend is a lot more in the beginning of the year or when we're using it. So costly, but also a necessary expense. When we look at fitness, we have $44. That's the Peloton, which normally would fall, if we're looking at my tracker, would fall into the must pays, right? The Peloton is in the must pays. But in Monarch Money, I don't have it organized in that way. It just falls under health and wellness. So that's why we see it here. Dentist, $0. But in June, we're going to see some dentist budgeted in there. Personal care, $22. taking something to the dry cleaners. So that's health and wellness. And then we have financial. So this is a category that comes with Monarch Money that I was like, do we really need a financial category? But, it actually has some things that were like, okay, tracking. So what we actually got charged with was a $12 Chase fee, because obviously I have to keep that checking account under a certain amount or have direct deposits of a certain amount going in there in order to not get the fee, but I don't have that right now. And I'm not ready to let go of all of my traditional banks yet, even though I have used online banks for my high yield savings accounts, for our shared checking account, but I still have cash that I sometimes need to deposit. And some of these like online banks don't have a way for you to deposit cash. And so that's like the biggest thing that's keeping me in one of these large banks that I know are not good. But yeah, that's the kind of situation that I'm in, is that I want to be able to deposit cash, but right now the online bank that I'm using doesn't allow that. And so yeah, not sure what to do there, but I'm getting charged $12 a month to have that checking account. And what falls under other miscellaneous? We have uncategorized. I don't know. I guess we'll take a look at what that is, but that's other. We also decided it was time to give First Gen Money its own little category, because guess what? Yeah, creating YouTube videos does cost me money, surprisingly. And that is everything from subscriptions. So here we had an annual Canva subscription get renewed. And so that was the majority of it. But I also use Epidemic Sounds. There are other subscriptions that I use in order to kind of make my videos better, right? Adding music, being able to make thumbnails and stuff like that. I don't need to have the premium version, but I do. So I think for now, I'm okay with this amount. We'll take a look. I did drop Notion, which was a subscription that I was paying for, but right now I think it's okay to not have Notion. And so that one was the one that I canceled in May. But again, service fees, this is checking account for First Gen Money, and I get charged 15 here instead of 12. I guess it's a little more expensive when you have a business checking account. So First Gen Money in May cost me $178, but guess what? I made $11, so all worth it. So the total expenses for the month of May was $4,017, which I'm happy with, because, we did minimize in a lot of areas. And so that is something that you'll see in our questionnaire that we ask at the end of each month, like we're proud of. So actually, let's jump into that. Looking ahead and looking back. So in looking back at the month of May, what are some things that, we spent money on that we weren't expecting? I think Ari's medical copays came to us as a little bit of a surprise. I think we knew we had copays, but it was much higher than we had anticipated. And some money wins. We are proud of the way that we were kind of managing our grocery budget while on vacation. And some areas for opportunity, we really couldn't think of one. We're like, let's just say that we are feeling good about the work that we did in May, or like how we were able to spend in May and how we were really thinking about the groceries and all that stuff. So we didn't have anything to put in there. We felt like we did a really good job. So looking at June, we filled this out yesterday or whenever we had our money date. And again, looking at the month ahead, we wanted to ask ourselves, what do you think is going to impact our overspending? We said lifestyle inflation. Father's Day plans. These are some things that are, happening in the month of June. Lifestyle inflation. I think it's summer and you want to like book things and be outside more. So something to keep in the back of our minds, like let's not. And then where do we want to challenge our spending this month? Again, we just want to keep the momentum going from May's eating at home. And so today we actually went to Trader Joe's, have the whole like meals that we're going to make. And we're going to be intentional about how we eat, how we make food at home when we eat out, how to avoid food waste. And then where do we want to focus our spending? This is, again, back to the like intentionality of our spending. We want to be able to pre-plan what we're doing this summer in June, really kind of mapping out the summer, because we just came from a whole beginning of the year and middle of the year from travel and feeling like, okay, we want to be home for the summer, but we also have some upcoming plans with friends that are like low cost trips, right? Like a camping trip that we have with our friends. And so let's try to think about what we want to do this summer where it's like regional, right? We're not leaving the state of New Jersey or the tri-state area. And if we do, like, what does that look like? Let's think about it now so that when people ask us to join on trips, we're not like caught up in the moment and saying yes to that. So again, going back to the lifestyle inflation piece. So that is May and a look ahead into June. I think the main thing here is like, we're just excited about continuing the progress that we've made with like making meals at home, being excited about the food that we make, reducing the food waste, and just the break in travel is a big one. So we could reduce some of those costs, right? If we're not traveling, we're not spending money while we're traveling. And so that is something that we are very much looking forward to, so we could go all in. But also something that we have talked about is getting those part-time jobs in the meantime. So I've already gone ahead and applied to part-time jobs at a local restaurant because I think for now, the part-time job somewhere that isn't in front of a computer would actually be a good change of scenery from the average days that I'm on the computer researching or preparing for interviews. So yeah, we're actually very excited about June and the summer. That was our spending overview for May, and I'll see you next month for June's overview. But in the meantime, go subscribe to this channel if you don't already, and stay tuned for vlogs in my life and other videos that are coming out. So see you all next week.